Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. What's in the box? What's in the box? Don't worry about what's in the box, and I'll go that in a minute. But basically, tonight, I know that TNA was going to be doing a lot of tape shows for the month of December, basically trying to get all of the work done. They can produce all the TV shows, hand them over to Spike TV, and the wrestlers can go home, as well as the cast and the crew and everybody else, and enjoy the holiday season. Tonight, they taped what was going to be the final resolution show for December 19th, and the one problem about taping these shows so early and putting them out is that you have to shoot these in front of a crowd. And basically, even though this is TNA and the home of the empty arena match known as the Impact Zone, the crowd that is there is going to go out and they're going to leak out what is going on. Honestly, even though this is what I predicted, I guess a month ago when they put this title tournament together, I wish I wouldn't have known, because honestly, I wish the TNA would have come together and made this final resolution show a live show, just for being on a Spike TV and for it being sort of a big deal. And honestly, it's out there and it doesn't care. It shows you that, honestly, when they went to this new system of putting the pay-per-views on TV, and it seemed like it was going to be a big deal, and honestly, to now, it just sort of seems like they're just putting a name on Impact and giving us like one big match. The last one they did, honestly, because of the title tournament, I believe it had 3 big matches. You had, Bully Ray versus Mr. Anderson with the death of Ace and Eights, and then you had Rude versus Storm, and then you had another one, Joe versus Magnus. Sort of gave it a big feel of 3 big matches in 2 hours. It was probably better than the last. The last one was Bound for Glory. Better than a few of the TNA pay-per-views they put on in the last little while. But I guess the Wheel of Dixie came up with a Dixieland match, something that was on the wheel that we all wondered what the hell it was. It finally came up, and basically it was a steel cage match, and once you escaped the steel cage, you didn't win yet. You had to fight your way up the ramp, and then you had to climb a ladder in order to grab the thing from grab the belt from at the top of the ladder. It doesn't make sense to me how you wouldn't have enough time in order to climb up and out of the steel cage. You would already have some sort of a lead, especially if your guy was laying there in the ring, to run up and grab the ladder and climb up there and be uncontested. But then again, more than likely this is where the heel turn is going to come in. I don't have all of the spoilers yet, just basically this story that came out that said this was the match and that Magnus did win, but I would guess that's where the shenanigans are coming. I was picking Magnus mostly because of the storyline they ran with Magnus versus Sting, where Magnus got the win at Bound for Glory, and then he sort of was showing up his partner from the main event Mafia, and they've been saying for a long time that they were hoping that Magnus was going to be the guy that broke out. Magnus got 3 big wins. He beat basically the life and blood of TNA in order to get this title, but to me, honestly, this is a lot like when WWE handed Curtis Axel the Intercontinental title. It's not going to work. I mean, to me, I knew that a heel was going to have to win this. If Magnus really isn't a heel, maybe this will be his, his final push to being that heel character again. He's a good wrestler. But to me, honestly, it just sort of seems like what he's been given is sort of, forced and pushed. Adding this guy to a group called Main Event Mafia when he's never even wrestled in a main event match, let alone on Impact or a pay-per-view, never been a champion, but I guess that was the storyline they were trying to build from this guy. You saw the stories as well as I did, as Dixie Carter was handpicking this guy to be the guy for TNA, and now he's here. It doesn't make sense if a babyface was to win this. They have to unify this TNA belt somewhere along the way. The storyline has to make sense when AJ Styles comes back. I like the fact that he's wrestling and they're showing these clips of matches from around the world of him wrestling in Mexico and him wrestling in Japan. But the last storyline that I saw on Impact was that Dixie Carter was threatening to sue AJ if he didn't bring the belt back and give it to her because it was her property. But now I guess that she's made her own new belt, and Magnus is going to be her new champion. I can sort of see some sort of a faction built up of Magnus and EC3 sort of doing the bidding for Dixie Carter. We've already seen Dixie and EC3 doing a whole lot of stuff together along the way, but somewhere along the way, EC3 has to start fighting his own, equal competition. I guess is a good way to say it, instead of fighting guys like Dewey Barnes along the way. But back to Magnus, I can easily see this as being sort of like when WWE gave the Intercontinental Championship to Curtis Axel so fast after giving him the title of being a Paul Heyman guy, as well as, giving him a huge push right out of the gate on Monday Night Raw, beating Triple H on the same week that they aired a taped Superstars where he lost a match to a nobody that I can't even remember who it was. But I don't know. I want to hope for TNA the best. I mean, TNA is a good company if you want to watch wrestling on Thursday nights. WWE doesn't have any Thursday programming since Superstars got canceled a while back, and honestly, that show wasn't that great to watch anyways. After the first, easily to say the first month of that show, you could tell that it was a show that they didn't really care about, and they were just producing a show to get a check from WGN every week, and I wasn't surprised when WGN pulled the plug and canceled it. Magnus is the champion. Fighting a match against AJ Styles is a match that honestly I don't think a lot of people are going to care about. It doesn't have a huge draw or appeal. I'm not really sure who you could have put in this spot. AJ versus Angle, to me, I know it would be a good match, but I don't know if people are going to tune in to see that match. AJ and Samoa Joe have had so many awesome matches. I think that you might be able to bring back some, lifelong TNA fans that have sort of fled the coop. They might come back for that because of how great of a rivalry that was and how many great matches they had along the way, including the matches that they had with Christopher Daniels in 3-ways. But I don't really know if there is a perfect way to solve the storyline. I know TNA is sort of rewriting the script of what WWE did in the summer of 2011, the much unforgotten match where they did CM Punk versus John Cena to find the undisputed champion. And it seems like he was only undisputed for a matter of a few minutes until Kevin Nash ran in, and then Alberto Del Rio cashed in, and then we had another WWE champion at that point. It seems like the undisputed thing went out the window, and it is what it is. And now here we are 3 years later, trying to find out who the undisputed champion is again between Randy Orton and John Cena. But I don't know. This honestly doesn't surprise me. I picked this right off the bat that Magnus was going to be the winner. I'm sort of pissed that we found out what it was going to be. Hopefully this final resolution show will be stacked. But then again, if this spoiler is going to be leaked so fast, you would think that some other spoilers of the other big matches would be released as well. We'll have to see. We'll have to find out. I didn't get a chance to watch the Thanksgiving Impact. I need to go back and check out the death. Or not the death. We already saw the death. The funeral of Aces and Eights. I think that was the headline of the show. Some people said the Survivor Series tag match was great, but I'll find it somewhere on YouTube and see what it is. It was just taking up too much room on my DVR that I needed for something else.